The story begins by taking us back to 1944, during the time of World War II. Here, towards the end of the war, Germany's Nazi forces start looting all the gold bars from the banks of France. Not only that, they also take all the valuable paintings from France's Louvre Museum, considering them their own property. They load all these goods onto a convoy of vehicles and set off towards a city called Grahav in Yugoslavia. As soon as they reach this city, the Nazi forces begin capturing the local people there. While the entire village is being taken captive, we see a woman signaling her son to escape through the back door. After this, the Nazi forces go to a bank in the city and start storing several tons of looted gold bars there. On the other hand, a group of people gathers at the top of a mountain, but these were people opposed to the Nazi forces. They're shown preparing for a massive explosion inside the mountain and then detonating it. After this, the movie cuts to a new scene and the story shifts to the present time. To find out what happens next, we'll have to wait a little longer. Now the story moves to 1995, where we see a war-torn city in Bosnia called Sarajevo. A press vehicle arrives at the army camp in this city to interview the general. There we see two journalists, but the Bosnian army forces look at them with suspicion and begin checking them. During this inspection, a commander named Petrofis arrives and upon seeing them, gives clearance for the interview. Petrofis clearly says, "You people need to make a report that makes the whole world believe our general is working here for peace." After this, the interview begins. One journalist does a sound check for the general and says, "Everything clear?" At the same time, the scene cuts to another location where some Navy SEALs come up through a drain and enter a building to carry out a secret mission. The Navy SEAL team reaches a room, sets explosives on the roof, and starts waiting. Meanwhile, the journalist from the press suddenly says, "General, your sound system isn't working properly." "Wait, let me fix it for you." Saying this, he takes out a needle under the pretense of fixing the collar mic and stabs it into the general's neck. At that very moment, his cameraman swiftly attacks and knocks out the remaining soldiers with a knife hidden in the camera. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Navy SEAL team sets off an explosive blast, creating a huge hole in that floor. In reality, these journalists were also members of the Navy SEALs, and their mission was to knock out the general and take him to the American base camp. According to the plan, they put an oxygen mask on the general, pack him up, and start heading out. But as soon as they step outside, they see that the Bosnian army is already waiting for them. Now what should they do? A fierce face-to-face fight breaks out, and they take down several soldiers. But when they realize that the army force is much larger than expected, they understand that escaping through the route they came in from is impossible. Just then, they spot a tank parked in the camp. They seize that very tank and break through the main gate to make their escape. Now let me introduce you to these Navy SEALs. The leader of this 5-member team is Matt Birds. The others are Baker, Duffy, Jack, and Ben. Here, Matt is their chief in command. Taking the tank, they speed through hundreds of soldiers at full throttle. At that moment, Matt sends a message to the control room. "We've secured the package, but the plan has gone awry. We need to exit through a different route. Send us air support quickly." The response comes from the other side. "Nothing is possible right now. Either get out through the same route or find your own way out." Hearing this, Matt gets even more furious. Meanwhile, the Bosnian army also starts chasing them with tanks and RPGs. Just then, Jack fires a powerful shot from the tank and blows up the enemies. At the same moment, a soldier climbs onto their tank, pulls out a grenade, and removes the pin. But before he can throw it, Matt cleverly slams on the brakes. Losing his balance, that foolish soldier dangles from the tank, and the grenade explodes right in his hand. That's where he meets his end. Meanwhile, a convoy of several more vehicles starts chasing them. Matt spots a tower ahead and blows it up by firing a shot at it. Then he speeds up the tank and moves ahead quickly. As a result, all the vehicles following behind crash into each other, causing an accident and blocking the entire road. But even after all this destruction, Petrovic arrives with army tanks both in front of and behind them. At that moment, their tank is on a bridge. Now, seeing no other way out, Matt orders Jack to fire at the bridge so that the entire tank falls straight into the water, because they are Navy SEALs and for them, water is the safest zone. According to the plan, as soon as the bridge collapses, the tank falls into the river. Then, taking the general with them, they swim underwater and come out on the other side of the canal. From above, the Bosnian army opens heavy fire, but they don't suffer much damage and manage to get quite far away. Moving ahead, they see that the army, already waiting for them, is stationed ahead on speedboats. Now what should they do? The Navy SEALs quietly sneak up from behind and without giving the enemies a chance to react, take them all down one by one. Then, taking those same speedboats, they escape from there. Now, the Navy SEALs bring the Bosnian general to the American base camp. Their chief in command, Levin, is shocked to see that they've brought in a general from another country as if he were a common thief. Seeing the situation, he leaves without saying anything to Gauss, feeling even more upset. But the next morning, he harshly scolds the entire team. The commander, angry, says, "I told you to complete the mission quietly without leaving any footprints, and you people blew up the entire Bosnian base camp with a tank. On top of that, I'm getting so much flack that I feel like suspending all of you right now." Matt replies, "Sir, we had no other option. That's why we had to do it." Hearing this, instead of giving them a harsh punishment, the commander gives them a light one for now, 3 days leave, and says that the final decision will be communicated later. However, as they're leaving in celebration of the mission's success, he gives them a bottle of red wine. The whole team is delighted, and that very night they throw a small party to relax and unwind. At the party, the team's attention is caught by a very beautiful girl named Lara. As soon as Ben sees her, he tries to hit on her, but later it turns out that Lara is already involved with Baker. In fact, the two have been in love with each other for quite some time. That same night, Lara tells Baker that she wants to do something big for the suffering people of this country, so she can help them with things like education and health. In the midst of this romantic atmosphere, Lara's own brother shows up at her house with some goons, acting like a villain. Angrily, he asks Lara, "Where did you put that thing? Tell me." Lara replies, "I don't have it." Hearing this, her brother loses his temper. Just then, Baker arrives and confronts them, but within moments, he himself gets caught at gunpoint by one of the men. Now, panicking, Lara says, Okay, I'll tell you where it is." When they all step outside, Matt is already there waiting. Baker signals to him, and suddenly the two of them attack and together take down all the goons. Seeing Matt, Baker says, "So you were secretly keeping an eye on me." In fact, Matt had known from the very first day that Baker had fallen in love with a local girl. After Matt leaves, Lara shows Baker the thing for which her brother used to torture her every day. Lara takes out a 12-kilogram gleaming gold bar and says, "This is the precious thing." Seeing such a huge gold bar, Baker is completely stunned. He asks, "So valuable, where did you get this gold bar worth almost $150,000? Then Lara takes him to a lake to tell him the history of the gold. Both of them scuba dive and descend into the depths of the lake. There, Baker sees that an entire city is hidden beneath the water. Houses, buildings, even a church. Everything is evidence that a famous city once stood here. Now Lara begins to tell him the whole story. She says, "Do you remember the first scene of the movie? That little boy whose mother told him to run away. Actually, that boy was my grandfather." Lara explains that while running away that day, her grandfather saw the Nazi army filling the city's bank vault with loads of gold bars. At that moment, the little boy secretly picked up a gold bar, but soon after, he was caught by the guards. Cleverly, he managed to escape from them, and as he left, hid the gold bar in a spot before climbing up the mountain above the village. When he reached the mountain, he could see flashes from gunfire in the distance and hear people screaming. That's when he realized that all the villagers had been captured and were being killed right there. At that moment, another group catches him and says, "We are not Nazis, come with us." They take him with them, where he sees that bombs have already been planted on the dam above the village. Their plan was that as soon as the dam exploded, the entire area would be flooded and all the German soldiers would be killed. They have the boy activate the bomb himself. Within moments, the entire dam is destroyed. A terrifying flood rushes towards the village, and the entire village, along with the Nazi soldiers, is swallowed by the water forever. In this way, a once thriving town carrying a terrifying history for nearly 50 years disappears from the map of the world. Lara says that her grandfather told her this entire story, and this gold bar is the very gold that her grandfather hid that day, and later, when she grew up, entrusted to her for safekeeping. This means that there isn't just one, but hundreds of gold bars lying beneath the water. That's why Lara asks Baker to help her retrieve them. Baker agrees without a second thought in an instant. When he brings the gold bar to the team, everyone's interest skyrockets. Baker tells everyone that there are about 2,000 gold bars here, whose rightful owner is France. If the price of one gold bar is considered to be around $150,000, then the total value of 2,000 gold bars is about $300 million. But Matt says it's almost impossible to retrieve such heavy gold bars from a depth of 150 feet underwater. On top of that, we're in enemy territory where we won't get any kind of rescue support. In the midst of this conversation, Lara arrives and starts explaining the entire plan to them by showing a map. Then Matt asks Lara, "Why should I let my team take on such a risky mission? What's in it for us?" Lara replies, "You all will get a share of the money, and I want to use my share to help the poor and helpless people of this country." Matt says, "So that means the share will be divided into 6 parts. "No, not 6. There will only be 2 shares. You all will keep $150 million, and I will spend the remaining $150 million on the people of my country." Hearing this, Matt is quite surprised, but $150 million is no small amount, so he agrees to the mission. However, the rest of the team members want to back out, saying it's way too risky. Then Matt says, "We're Navy SEALs. We can take on this mission as a challenge and complete it. Besides, we only have 6 months left until our retirement. If we can pull this off quietly right now, everyone's life will be set forever." After hearing Matt, the whole team finally agrees to execute the plan. But this mission was not easy. There were many dangerous challenges waiting for them ahead. The total weight of 2,000 gold bars is about 27 tons. Now Ben comes up with a plan for how to bring so many gold bars up from underwater. His plan is to first lay a large cargo net underwater and place all the gold bars in it. Then 4 cargo balloons will be attached to the 4 corners and filled with gas. As the balloons inflate, the entire net along with the gold will start rising upward. In this way, all the gold bars can be brought from underwater to the surface of the water. But Jack comes up with the plan for how to get them from the water to land. He explains that there are 2 pilots at their base who secretly do such jobs. If they are offered some money, they'll bring a helicopter and easily transport all the gold. They're also experts in dogfights. If any trouble arises, they will also get air support. Since the gold bars are locked inside a heavy locker, they'll need magnesium, burning bars, and oxygen to cut it, so that even underwater, the iron can be cut with intense fire. Meanwhile, at night, Matt goes to the lake to analyze the situation. He finds out that every 2 hours, a patrolling team checks around the lake. This means they'll have to complete the job within 2 hours each time. Since there is a lot of work, they decide that the mission will be completed in 5 days. Staying underwater for too long at a stretch can cause decompression sickness, which can be fatal. After all this technical planning, they start gathering all the equipment needed for the mission. Since this was an unofficial mission, everyone had to pretend so that no one would get suspicious and it would seem like all this equipment was being taken for some official top-secret mission. They load all the equipment into a truck and hide it at Lara's house. On the other hand, when Lara returns home, she sees that her gold bar is missing. At that very moment, she realizes that this is the doing of her good-for-nothing brother, and in fact, he is the one who did it. Lara's brother cuts off a small piece from the gold bar and uses it to fund his drug habit. The creditor demands cash from him, but he forcibly gives him a piece of gold and drives him away. Meanwhile, news of that gold piece reaches the Bosnian army. They catch Lara's brother and bring him in, and right in front of his eyes, they shoot his partner. Out of fear, he confesses the truth that he got the gold from his sister. In the next scene, we see that the Navy SEALs commander calls the entire team back together and tells them that their backdoor mission has caused an uproar all the way to the top. That's why it has been decided that they will be immediately removed from this Bosnian base camp and sent back to America. As soon as everyone hears this news, the ground slips from under their feet, and Matt clearly states that their gold mission ends here. They have to leave the base within 3 days, so he orders everyone to pack their things. Everyone starts packing their suitcases with heavy hearts, and meanwhile, Lara is completely heartbroken. On the other hand, Duffy and Jack drink too much red wine in their sorrow and start fighting with their own people. Meanwhile, Matt and Ben are quietly drinking wine. Just then, when Ben sees a large glass of whiskey in his hand with a small shot glass inside it, a brilliant idea strikes his mind. He turns the shot glass upside down and puts it inside the large glass, saying, if we can build a base underwater like this, one that has no water inside and is filled entirely with oxygen, we could work non-stop and finish the whole mission in a single night. As soon as this dangerous idea comes to him, he immediately calls Baker. Baker explains that there's a church underwater, and inside it is a room that is completely airtight. If that room is filled with oxygen, it could become their underwater chamber. Hearing this, the whole team decides that the mission will begin tonight itself. Baker tells Lara to bring all the equipment to the lakeside, and Jack messages the pre-arranged pilots to be at the location before dawn. Meanwhile, they had to remove a lot of oxygen cylinders and heavy equipment from the base. For this, they prepare a fake urgent mission paper and show it to the aircraft pilot, saying, "This is a very big secret mission, fly us immediately. Here are the mission authorization documents." The pilots are completely convinced, and without asking too many questions, take off with them. As soon as the helicopter reaches above the lake, all 5 Navy SEALs jump out with all their gear, and this is where the gold bar recovery mission begins. Diving underwater, they first reach the church. There, in the bell tower room, Ben starts filling it with oxygen. Gradually, the water in the room starts to recede, and the entire room fills with oxygen. Meanwhile, up above, Lara gathers some wood to build a platform and sends it down to Baker. They can place their generator and oxygen cylinders on this wooden platform, and they can also sit on it themselves. After doing all this, their entire underwater chamber is fully ready to serve as a workstation in just a short time. Matt is very happy to see the success of Ben's unique idea. Now it's time to search for the gold. For this, Matt, Ben, and Jack go to the bank locker, where a large amount of wealth was stored. First, they start breaking the wall of the vault room. When they break through the first wall with a drill machine, they find that there's a second wall behind it. After drilling through that as well, they reach the iron sheet of the vault. Now Jack starts cutting the lock in a circular motion using a magnesium burning bar. Meanwhile, in the chamber, it is seen that due to the old condition, water starts leaking in through a hole in the ceiling. Ben explains that these walls haven't been exposed to oxygen for 50 years, so now they are deoxidizing. This means they have at most only 1 hour. After that, the entire room will be filled with water. So Matt immediately uses wood to temporarily stop the water. When Jack finally opens the vault door with his steel cutting, they all go inside and start searching for the gold. Meanwhile, the Bosnian colonel slowly arrives at Lara's house. There, he finds a scuba diving jacket and a map in Lara's wardrobe. At that moment, he suspects that maybe this girl has found something in the lake. He immediately takes his team and heads to the lake. As soon as he arrives, he sees some pieces of wood lying on the ground, which makes his suspicion even stronger. After this, he orders his team to stay there. Meanwhile, at the Navy SEALs base camp, the chief in command doesn't see those officers for a long time, so he starts searching for them, but there's no trace of them anywhere. Then he calls both the pilots because the Navy SEALs team was last seen with them. The pilots tried to give the commander a false answer, but the commander was no ordinary man. He interrogates them thoroughly about everything and is determined to get the truth out. Now we go back underwater. The whole team searches every corner of the bunker meticulously. There they find some old paper notes, and in the end, they manage to retrieve almost 10 gold bars. As soon as the team returns to their chamber, Ben and Jack say, "Man, after hearing this story from Papa, we really got fooled. We never should have believed this story." But Matt explains to them, actually, it's not Lara's fault at all. She didn't lie on purpose. And look, we've managed to get at least 10 gold bars. That means there really was gold here, and that part was true. Maybe, over time, someone else took the rest away. Matt says, alright, let's take these 10 gold bars and head back. And with that, they start making their way up. But on the way back, Matt stops when he sees a wall. The wall looked quite new, and something was written on it in Roman letters. Seeing this, Matt goes back into the chamber and tells the others, "We definitely need to check out that wall on the way." And then they go over to the wall and start breaking it down. The wall was so soft that it wasn't too difficult to break through. Behind the wall, they see a tunnel and begin to enter it. As they walk through the tunnel, they see something that chills them to the bone. There, they find more than 100 human skulls and bones stacked up, trembling in place. All around, there are scattered and sealed wooden boxes as well. They begin to open those boxes one by one. Meanwhile, Baker notices that inside one of the boxes, several old paintings are hidden. This meant that these were the very paintings that the Nazi army had looted from France, and it also meant that the gold bars must be hidden somewhere nearby. After this, the team put in all their effort and began searching thoroughly. A short distance away, they spot a large box. When they open it, they see that it contains 2,000 gold bars, each 100% pure 24-karat gold. Seeing this, the entire team is overjoyed beyond measure. They start unloading the gold bars and transporting them like crazy. Underwater, they lay out a cargo net and start preparing to bring up all the gold bars from the locker by placing them in it. Meanwhile, the Bosnian forces see some old banknotes floating on the water surface. These were the same notes that Jack had found a little while ago. As soon as the colonel sees this, he becomes absolutely certain that someone must be present underwater. He immediately sends some soldiers underwater, outfitted in diving suits. Meanwhile, the Navy SEALs were working quickly, but just then, the Bosnian military attacks them from above. They tried to attack the Navy SEALs with knives, but defeating the SEALs underwater was nearly impossible. The Navy SEALs ruthlessly take down the Bosnian soldiers one by one. When a dead soldier floats to the surface, the colonel realizes that there aren't just ordinary people below, but a highly trained military force. Now he starts planning a grenade attack. You might be wondering, what harm can a grenade do underwater? In fact, when a grenade explodes underwater, it creates an intense pressure and shockwave that can instantly destroy the internal organs of any person nearby. Working on this theory, the colonel ties some grenades to an anchor and lowers them into the water. As soon as he gives it a jerk after taking it a little deeper, the pins of the grenades come out, and within seconds, terrifying explosions begin to occur. But since the explosions happen quite close to the surface, no one gets hurt. Even so, the team realizes that they have absolutely no time left now. They quickly speed up their work. One by one, they start bringing all the gold bars and gathering them near the cargo net. Then they attach large air balloons to the net and begin filling them with gas. Just then, more grenades are dropped from above. This time, they are brought even deeper before being detonated. The blast gives the entire team a powerful jolt. The old walls nearby start to crumble and collapse. The situation becomes extremely dangerous. Seeing things getting worse, they quickly start filling the main air balloon with oxygen. As the balloon inflates, it begins to rise upward. But during this time, the army keeps launching grenade attacks, making it difficult for them to hold their position. In reality, there was no way to fight back while staying underwater. They had no choice but to go up at any cost. But then they noticed that after moving a short distance, the balloon stops rising. The reason was that the amount of gold was much more than they had estimated. That's why the balloon couldn't rise any further. Now, to lift it up, they needed even more oxygen. At that moment, Matt remembers that some gas cylinders were left inside the bank because of the grenade attack. Without a second's hesitation, he risks his life and goes back into that dangerous area. As soon as he finds and picks up an oxygen cylinder, there's a massive explosion, and the entire structure above starts collapsing onto him. Matt narrowly escapes, brushes with death, but finally manages to drag a cylinder back to the balloon. As soon as he fills the balloon with oxygen from the cylinder, the balloon rapidly inflates and starts rising quickly. Within seconds, the entire team reaches the surface of the water. But the Bosnian commander was already there above. He picks up a rocket launcher and is just about to blow up the entire team. As soon as Matt sees him, he fires his pistol. One shot, two shots, but none of them hit the target. The magazine runs empty. Matt realizes that it's all over now. But just then, a helicopter suddenly appears in the sky and mows down the entire Bosnian force with its heavy machine gun. These are the same pilots who, out of fear, had confessed everything to the commander earlier, and after learning the truth, the commander sent them to rescue the Navy SEAL team. But wait, the mission wasn't over yet. The final twist was still left. Now they tie up all 27 tons of gold to the helicopter and head towards the base camp. As soon as they reach the base, the chief in command gives everyone a serious scolding for going on such a foolish, unofficial mission. But when he learns the whole truth, he comes up with a dangerous plan to cover up the mission and keep everything secret. The next morning, a page briefing is held at the base camp. There, it is announced that our SMART team, with the help of a local girl from this country, has succeeded in finding the gold bars that France lost 50 years ago. They decided to return this gold to France. All the gold bars are handed over to France. For this brave act, the French government honors the entire team with a special award. But seeing this kind of praise, the team also feels a bit disappointed. Later, the commander calls the team into a room and reveals that, actually, I didn't give you all the gold bars. You were only given gold worth $150 million. The rest of the gold I sold in the market through my contact and set it aside for you. Then he gives 6 checks to the 6 members. Everyone is shocked to see the checks. Each check was only for $3,665 in their name. Matt completely loses his mind. He thinks, did this man take all the money for himself, or is he just messing with me? Just then the commander says, you did this mission for the good of the country, so why are you thinking about money now? At this, Lara looks at her check and is completely stunned. Her check had an amount of approximately 14,99,08,070 written on it. This meant that the chief had given Lara the entire team's earnings, and the Navy SEALs team only received their mission fee. All the team members realize their misunderstanding and hand over their checks to Lara. Seeing this, Lara is extremely happy, and this is where the story ends.